Hey, what's up everybody? It's Amaya. So today's video is going to be a makeup tutorial, and it's going to be a little bit different than any other makeup tutorial that I've done. While the look is not that different from looks I've done in the past, I am going to be doing this in a new sort of fashion. So there's a new type of tutorial going around, which is called the no brand tutorial. And all that is you doing a makeup tutorial without saying exactly what products you're using. So you don't mention any brands, any specific products, anything like that. You don't show them on camera, you don't talk about them. All you do is apply the makeup to your face, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm really excited to do this because I find that a lot of times makeup tutorials end up being about what products you're using and what brands you're using, and if you're using those brands because you want hype or if you actually like them. So that kind of eliminates all of the extra BS surrounding a makeup tutorial and just kind of makes it about the actual makeup. So you can go home, recreate this look with products you have at home. You don't need the specific products that I used. I just think it's a really, really awesome idea, so I'm trying it out. Today I'm going to be doing my go-to glam fall everyday look. I'll think of something else to say for the title, but that's basically what I'm going to be doing. So before we get into it, be sure to check out my social medias. My Instagram and Twitter are right over here. All my others will be in the description box below, so go check them out if you wanna. No pressure, but if you wanna, check them out. They're pretty cool sometimes. And yeah, I think that's about it. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video. Okay, so I'm going to start out by priming my face, and the first primer I'm going to be using is a pore filling primer just to kind of smooth everything out and fill in my pores, keeping it mostly in my T-zone and the areas where I have a lot of pores: nose, cheeks, forehead, chin, stuff like that, places where I need my foundation to stay a little bit extra. Then I'm going to be going in with a luminizing primer to add a little bit of glow to our skin, because the foundations we're going to be using today are more on the long wearing side as opposed to like a dewy and glowy side, because I want this makeup to last all day. So in order to get that natural sort of glowiness, I'm going to put a luminizing primer on as well. And I'm going to make sure to keep this kind of on the perimeters of my face. I don't want this to go where I put that pore filling primer, because it'll just kind of defeat the purpose. Alrighty, now we're going to move on to the eyes. So I'm going to start out with an eyeshadow primer, of course. Can't live without my eyeshadow primer. Okay, and then I'm also going to take a little bit of concealer and just put a teensy bit of that on my lids as well to kind of conceal any redness, which I have a lot of on my eyes, as well as veins, all that sorts of good stuff. Okay, so just zoomed you in a little bit for the eyeshadow portion, and I'm going to be holding up this palette right here. This is the Morphe 15N palette, but only because I'm using the mirror that's inside of it. I'm not using this palette on my eyes, because if I held up the palette that I'm using, then you'd know what it is. So I'm just using this for a mirror, and then I'll use a different palette separately. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take a cream colored shadow just to set down that concealer and primer. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is taking a transition shade, and the transition shade I'm going to be using is kind of on the warm side, but it's not too orangey yellow. It's like a neutral warm. I'm just taking this on a big fluffy brush and blending that all into my crease. Okay, and then next I'm going to be going in with a mixture of like two different shades. These are like also kind of warm, also kind of neutral, and just a slight bit darker, and I'm switching brushes as well. I'm taking a fluffy brush, but one that's a little bit smaller, and I'm keeping this more on the outer corners. I'm going back in with the fluffy brush that I used before just to make sure everything's nice and seamless. Okay, so next I'm going to be going in with two shades that are kind of on the reddish side. They're like a dark kind of reddish brown. And I'm taking that on an even smaller brush and just starting to pack those in the outer corners. And then going in, of course, with that fluffy brush just to blend everything out. Okay, so now here's the part where the look really starts to kind of come to life. So I'm going to be taking a black shadow mixed with a little bit of a dark purplish brown, any kind of brown you want. So a black mixed with a brown, any kind of undertone that you want. And I'm going to be taking a stiff angled brush, and I'm going to pat this on the outer corner of my lash line, very close to the lashes, and I'm gonna kind of slightly smoke it out, as you can see. So you can see it, but it's not totally smoked out. And I'm just keeping this on the outer corner. And I'm kind of taking the outer corner and making it as if I were to be doing a cat wing, but I'm not actually doing it like so. We're not going to stop there. So now I'm going to go back in with those two shades that I just used on this brush right here. And I'm going to smoke out that liner that we made. So basically all I'm doing is rubbing it back and forth like this to blend it, and then starting to kind of blend it in slight upward motions, and then smoking it out back and forth like so. So just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, slightly upwards, just blending that liner out until you really can't see that we have any liner. You just kind of see like a dark haziness in the outer corner. And I'm also kind of taking those shades and blending them into the inner corner slightly with no excess product on my brush. Just kind of making sure everything's nice and seamless. Then I'm going back in with those second shades that we used, and I'm just buffing everything out. I love this look because it's like a quick smoky eye, you know what I mean? So you have like the smokiness, but you're not actually hassling with blending out black shadows and dark shadows and layering. You really only do like 3 different layers of shadows. You do the liner, and then you smoke everything out. So it's fairly quick and fairly foolproof. I've done it with tons of different eyeshadow palettes, cool tones, neutrals, warm tones, like I've said, and it's worked with all different kinds. So you're really free to use whatever you like. So I'm just kind of blending this onto the center of the lid slightly, because I'm not going to be putting any metallic or shimmer shadow. You totally can, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep this all matte, so I just want to make sure that everything kind of blends into the light shade. Then I'm going back in with that cream shade that we used in the beginning, and I'm just going to kind of brighten up this inner corner right here slightly. I'm doing this on like a domed fluffy brush, and also going up towards the brow. This is going to create a more like open appearance to your eyes, so that way the smokiness doesn't close them off too much. And then one last time going in with that first transition shade that we used and that first fluffy brush that we used, and just blending everything, especially at the very top, just make sure everything's nice and seamless. Now I'm just taking a makeup wipe and I'm cleaning up any excess fallout. Kind of went underneath our eyes. It can get kind of messy with the back and forth smoking out, so I do recommend doing this before your foundation, unless you've practiced it a few times and you know that you're not going to be too messy about it. Okay, so now I'm just going to mist my face with a hydrating spray just to add a little bit of extra hydration. And I can't do this on camera because I'm going to have to show you the bottle, so you guys kind of know how to mist your face, so we're just going to do that. For my foundation, like I said, I'm using somewhat of a long wearing foundation because I am going to be going to school, and when I go to school, I don't want to worry about having to blot, having to check my makeup. I just don't have time for that, so I want to make sure that whatever I'm wearing on my face is going to stay pretty put. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also going for kind of a light coverage here. I don't want anything too full, too glam. I still want my skin to kind of peek through. Just kind of want to cover up any redness, stuff like that. So I'm just blending that in. I find that when you use a long wear foundation and you sheer it out, you get like the most natural, long wearing, beautiful skin look, because the foundation is going to wear for a long time, but long wear foundations tend to be kind of full coverage. So if you sheer it out, you still get that long lasting power of the foundation, but not so much coverage. And I think it's just like, it's just awesome. And if you pair it with a dewy primer underneath, if you have dry skin and you want that little extra glow, beautiful. Okay, so for concealer, I'm going to start with a yellow corrector. And you guys, again, I'm gonna have to kind of do this off camera because you'll see what product I'm using if you saw it. Okay, so my camera stopped filming and I'm not really sure where, but I did apply a yellow corrector shade underneath my eyes, and then a concealer shade, and then just blended it out with my sponge. I think that's the only thing you might have missed. Hopefully. So I'm just going to be going in with a cream bronzer to just add some color to my cheeks. I have talked about this technique before and how much I love it, because then you have to use less powders on your face, therefore creating a more natural look. I'm also going to be going in with a cream blush, and that is the shade of it. So it's kind of like a dusty, mauvey, purplyish, pinky shade. And I'm just going to be tapping that on my cheeks. I'm also kind of putting it on the apples of the cheeks. I've just been loving that look lately. It kind of gives like a youthful, fresh, flushed look. I love this shade because it kind of gives me like almost like a sunburnt vibe without actually being sunburnt. I'm trying to hold on to summer here, you guys. Okay, and then we'll be going in with a liquid illuminator, and I'll swatch that for you guys too. Just looks like this. It's like kind of a pale goldy champagne type of color. And I'm just patting that in with my finger to the tops of my cheekbones. And I'm taking a little bit more of it on a sponge and just blending that out. Adding a little bit extra, because the sponge and finger do apply it differently. I find that the sponge tends to be a little bit more pigmented actually. I love this illuminator because it just kind of gives a nice glow to the cheeks without being too like sparkly or intense, anything like that. Okay, so I'm just going in and wiping out any creases underneath my eyes. And then I'm going in with powder. And I'm not using a ton of powder, just enough to kind of set everything. I don't want this look to be super matte or anything, but I do want it to last. Okay, so now to kind of set down all of those creams, you do need a little bit of powder. You can skip this step if you want to, but I feel as though I still need to set everything down a little bit, so I'm just taking a bronzer that has a little bit of a sheen to it. Not glitter or sparkle or glowiness or anything, but it's not fully matte. And I'm just taking this on a fluffy brush and blending that all over, just very lightly. Again, this is more for just setting, not really adding color, because we did that with the cream products. Okay, so then for blush, I'm going to be using kind of like a peachy, dusty sort of color. A little bit lighter than the blush that we used, like the cream blush. This is a little bit more... Here, let me swatch it for you. It's a little bit lighter. It's in the same color family, just a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to kind of put that where we put that cream blush. This blush also has a little bit of a sheen to it, even though it is still considered matte. It's not flat. Going over that with my sponge, just to make sure everything's nice and blended. Okay, now for highlighters, I'm going to be starting off with one that's pretty close to the color of that illuminator that we used. I'll swatch it. So you can see just kind of like a more gold, more intense version of the liquid highlighter. And I'm just taking this very lightly and blending this onto the tops of my cheekbones. It's almost the same color as my skin, almost a little bit too dark for me, but not quite. And I'm just kind of blending this all over my highlight area. This highlighter in particular doesn't tend to emphasize any texture, so I'm using it first kind of all over the area to give me an all over glow, and then I'll go back in with a little bit of a more intense highlighter to really add that pop of highlight. Okay, and now I'm going in with another natural-ish highlighter, but it's still going to give me a little bit more of a pop. And I'm just going to blend that onto my cheeks. As you can see, it's lighter than the first one, so we are going to get that sort of pop effect, but it's not sparkly, glittery, or anything like that. It's still going to look good in like natural daylight, everything like that. And I'm just really making sure to blend that out to get the most glowiness as possible, and also kind of incorporate it into the skin so it's not just sitting on top. Okay, so we're almost done. Just need to do the lower lash line, and this is actually very simple. All you're going to do is take the shades that you used on the lid and put them on the lower lash line. If you're someone who doesn't like a smoky lower lash line, you can definitely go with just the light shades. You could go with nothing at all. I do recommend going with a little bit of something because this is kind of a top-heavy eye look. So I do recommend going with a little bit of something, but you don't have to take all the dark colors underneath if that's not your thing. However, in order to make my eyes look the biggest, I really have to smoke out my lower lash line, so 'tis what I'm doing. When it comes to the black and the dark brown that we use on the outer corners, I take that very, very, very sparingly and really just on the outer corner. So I don't want to get too raccoony up in here. Okie dokie, and now I'm going to take some light highlight shades from the palette, which look like this. Just very light, bright, highlighty shades. I'm just mixing them together and I'm going to pop them right on the inner corner and slightly bring them up like this. This is really going to open up your eye. I find that doing inner corner highlight is like the finishing touch to an eye look. If your eyes are looking small or if you have a smoky eye on, a good inner corner highlight can really just make the entire look pop, can make your eyes look huge. It's just such a good technique that I feel like is sometimes forgotten about. And I'm also just applying whatever's left over on my brush to my brow bone. I don't want a strong brow bone highlight, but just a little something. Okay, so now I'm just going to set my face with some setting spray. And like I always do, I'm going to press it into the skin with my beauty sponge, especially in the highlight region, to really make that highlighter melt into all the other products. And I'm also going to take that same hydrating spray that we used before, just put that kind of on the cheek area to give us a little extra glow. So another great thing about this look is that it can go either way when it comes to lashes. You can take some big, bold lashes if that's your thing. You can even do some nice wispy lashes. They'll look beautiful. Or you can just take some mascara, really build it up, and it's also going to look so gorgeous. And that's what I'm going to be doing today because I do not feel like messing with falsies. I was wearing falsies literally all day Saturday, and my eyes need a break. I'm just going to start out by curling my lashes, as always. Very important. Then I'm going to be taking an eyelash primer. Okay, so for lips, I'm going to go with a lip liner and lip gloss. So I'm going to first start with a purplish, nudish, mauve-y lip liner. I find that lip liners tend to be more long wearing than actual lipsticks, so I tend to use them like lipsticks as long as I have something moisturizing underneath. I don't have any issues throughout the day. I could totally leave it like this, but I am going to pop on just a little bit of lip gloss. I'm going to be using something very light, very nude. You can kind of use whatever you want. I'm kind of keeping it in the center on my lips. So that is it for this finished look, you guys. This is my everyday glam look. I love doing this look, and again, this is something I can do very quickly. I spent more time on my face today, but if you do this eye and then just kind of keep the face minimal, it actually looks really beautiful and can take you about 20 minutes. So yeah, that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like the no brand kind of concept behind it. I thought this was really cool and very like innovative and kind of making this about the makeup, not about the products. So yeah, give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye. It's delicious.